So next we're going to look at the ways in which we can actually calculate out the both distance traveled as well as the displacement of our object. So the first one, so distance is actually the easier of the two to calculate. All we have to do is, if our object is doing multiple legs of a journey, all we want to do is add up the individual pieces of our movement. So what that looks like is maybe we go 10 miles north before then turning and going 6 miles east. Maybe then we backtrack 11 miles south. Right. All we do is add up the individual parts. We're just adding 10 plus 6 plus 11. So adding up the individual parts of our overall journey. For displacement, though, the process is a little bit more difficult because, right, the direction is important to us. So the very first thing we have to do is decide which direction do we want to call positive, which direction do we call negative. Again, it's really up to us to make the decision. As long as you keep it consistent, then you're all set. So for instance, maybe we want to call going to the right our positive direction and going to the left our negative direction. Right, that works. You could just as easily do the question by calling left positive, right negative. We'll see it will kind of adjust your answer at the very end of whether your number ends up being positive or negative. But really all that positive and negative is doing is telling us our direction. So what I like to do next is then we'll make a quick little sketch or a diagram of our motion. That way it'll just help me kind of visualize which movements are in the positive direction, which movements are in the negative direction. So anytime our object moves in the positive direction, right, we're going to want to add that direction because it's positive. Anytime our object moves in the negative direction, right, we want to then subtract that. Again, subtraction will be our negative. So when we eventually kind of add or subtract all these individual pieces of our journey, what ends up happening is that we'll either get a positive number at the end or a negative number. So if our answer ends up being positive, it just means we moved overall in the direction that we identified as a positive direction. Again, maybe that means we're going to the right. Whereas if we are moving in the negative direction, so maybe that's like going to the left, what ends up happening is that our overall number we calculate from the addition subtraction ends up being negative. So when we think about displacement, right, our final answer needs to have our magnitude, so that's whatever number is. We need to have a unit, and we have to have a direction. For distance, only thing we need in our answer is going to be our magnitude. Right, so we should have some sort of number. And for every single problem, we always want to have a unit. So for a lot of these, we're going to measure our distance and displacements in terms of meters. There might be a couple of scenarios where we use miles, though, or yards. It all just kind of depends upon what the problem gives us.